All right, folks, we're back for episode 7 of season 1 of M.O.D.O.K. As again, spoiler review, and this episode is The Man and This Makeover. And, we usually have been pretty harsh on M.O.D.O.K. about being a bad parent. Looks like the tables turned just a little bit because Jodie was truly channeling her inner M.O.D.O.K. in this episode. We also got a pivotal part in this episode comes from the likes of the superhero, one of the Avengers, Wonder Man, who I consider to be someone. I be having arguments about some of the strongest people in all of Marvel comics.
Yeah,
Wonder Man is one of those ones that I bring up. Yeah, and like it was interesting that at first I was like, oh, they're about to have him like a quick little cameo, and he's like doing brainless, work on the streets of New York, obviously
beating up homeless people.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, but much towards his personality, he's more of like you got this narcissistic aurora around him. And of course he had to do something with Jodie. It was very transparent that that's the way they were going. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know it was going to be Jodie actually using him.
Exactly. I have that in my notes too. To be like, oh, it's there. She's being used by him. And then you had the 180 later in the episode where it turns out she's using him for publicity.
Exactly. So kind of crazy how that happened. This episode starts off in the fabulous apartment
of
M.O.D.O.K. Yeah, in New York. That's doing really bad. My man is using Jodie's book to balance out the refrigerator, and when all else is the ramen's gone, the oodles and noodles are gone, so my man is eating baking soda. So like he reached a really all-time new low. But beyond that, we see a couple of different things happen. The kids bond over liquor.
A liquor gun.
Liquor gun or a drunk gun that, so a couple of different things
off of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it kept re-upping on him. So, but what's your first reactions to this episode?
I mean, as a native New Yorker, I know about the rats thing and the tiny space thing. I know about using books to balance unsteady furniture. So when he was doing all that, I understood it. When he was down to just baking soda, I definitely understood that, because when you're a bachelor and you don't really pay attention to your food supply as often as you used to, you're like, oh crap, I just have air left in the fridge. So that's essentially what he had. And he kept asking for the super adaptoid, not realizing the adaptoid is long gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he had a hangover, because he looked rough.
Oh, for sure.
The next night. So he might have had a hangover, but I was kind of thinking this whole episode was going to be centered around Wonder Man being a douche, voiced by Nathan Fillion. So if you know your lore and you've watched Dr. Horrible sing-along blog with Neil Patrick Harris, he's the douchey Wonder Man character in that show, and it fits him so perfectly to be this like superhero that's a douche. So he's the perfect person to play Wonder Man. But you see in the episode, Jodie's still trying to get her book sales up. So she hires a publicist, because that's the thing to do when you want to be famous and rich, etc. You hire a publicist to publicly plan out your day-to-day. It wound up that she winds up dating Wonder Man. Go figure. So they're on a date at this one restaurant, which apparently may have diarrhea-inducing lasagna, but people still eat there. But then again, if it's New York, you'll still eat at a C restaurant, even though, the health board tells you not to. So he sees, obviously, her with Wonder Man, M.O.D.O.K. does, and he's jealous. And then he goes on this whole experiment to get her back. And as a bachelor, I understand this too. And he hires his daughter, who, again, remember, really does want to spend time with him secretly.
Yeah.
To help him get a makeover that made him look like Ronald freaking Reagan. That cracked me up to the point where I didn't know what to say, because I just yelled out Ronald Reagan and you couldn't hear me, but I yelled out Ronald freaking Reagan. So
yeah. Again, Melly again just wants to be seen. She wants to feel important. She wants to feel needed, and she definitely channels her inner TLC channel and takes him to get a makeover, and she gives him a lot of funny criticism,
Mm-hmm.
along with her flamboyant hairstylist, who also was giving it to him, which they were like some of the best parts of this episode.
Yep.
But yeah, he got him looking sharp. He comes out stunting. He pulls up in the old school Acura Legend. It really not, but
M.O.D.O.K 6'9", buddy.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But I mean, we're going to talk about New York. Like, this is obviously the Acura Legend with the black. With the gold rims
The
and,
gold
and all
rims.
black. So, but like, he comes out stunting. But like a couple of things I want to go back to real quick. The publicist channel the most whitest white girl of publicists
A
ever.
racist white girl, mind
Racist.
you.
Like, she, like was giving her, Jodie, all types of flack. Like, and I've seen those type of things where like you're pushing the barriers. You want somebody to like identify different, and like you're trying to like make words that are racist or just flat out disrespectful, and you try to make it seem like, oh, this is actually a better term for it. It's like, no, you shouldn't be using any of these words at all. So like, corporate America, those characters are there. So like, they stay really genuine / authentic to that. But like, it was sort of cool to see Jodie really stand up for herself. However, she sold herself to the industry, because once the fame started to come, then she started going against her own morals. The same thing that she was criticizing M.O.D.O.K for, she started to do.
Exactly.
She even went as far as like buying into the idea that TMZ is on her ass. Like, they're catching her every little spot. I mean, she's on the yacht caressing Wonder Man buns. I mean, she's front row at the Knicks game.
Typical New York publicist ammo 101.
Yep, she even falls in love with a Central Park bum. Like, I mean, not fall in love, but she shows love to the Central Park bum who asked for $1,000.
Well, he had a taxi cab, so apparently he was a cab driver from New York City that had his tire iron signed by Wonder Man, and he asked for $1,000. So I thought that was hilarious. Real quick, actually, did you catch the "Good Day, Sir" in the restaurant? That was the Black Knight eating at that restaurant at the table over, looking all like, oh, when he left. That was the Black Knight.
See it. I did not. Good one. I did not even notice that.
But yeah, that whole episode, so it's a lot of contrived celebrity planning and primping out there.
True.
So M.O.D.O.K shows up to the book release party, or I believe it was like some weird book release party for Jodie at the house. There's a red carpet, there's reporters, there's paparazzi, and here comes M.O.D.O.K in his 6'9", rolling in his 6'9", comes out with his gigolo girlfriend that he's eating, that apparently tastes like, well, what did he say? He tastes like it was like some sort of Taco Bell dish.
I don't know, but he's like he said, I get a girl that could do both.
Yeah, he literally said, "Get you a girl that can do both." So you know what? Again, he had cheek implants, fake teeth, fake buns. So both of them, Jodie and M.O.D.O.K, were fake AF in this entire episode. Yeah. And we see there's a contrived fight between Wonder Man and him, and then you realize Wonder Man actually legitimately has feelings for Jodie, because in his words, I'm going to paraphrase, she was just a regular person who didn't just see him as Wonder Man. And it leads to a fight between M.O.D.O.K and Wonder Man, and M.O.D.O.K sheds actual tears. So in his failure, he goes back home and basically starts to read Jodie's book, because there's still no food in the fridge. So what else is going to do? And then he starts following the advice of said book. So I thought that was a good way for M.O.D.O.K to finally like reclaim himself, almost, to clean his apartment, take care of business, sign the divorce papers, and then I'll let you finish the rest.
Yeah. I mean, there's one other thing I want to mention too. I mean, something that's been kind of a little theme going on in the film industry, but more or less in the superhero genre, is the idea of blah, blah, blah was right. And it's really premised around the idea that Thanos was right in Infinity War. I think it's safe to say that a lot of New Yorkers may be siding with Ultron here, who decided to hack Uber, which we know Uber is pretty much the destroyer of the taxi cab industry, which is the taxi cab capital is New York. So the fact that he was the one that actually was playing a hero here was very interesting. So I thought I'd just throw that little tidbit in there. So like at this rate, Ultron was right.
Just like we thought Infinity
again.
War Thanos was right. So yeah.
So he's rude again. But yeah, so now that we kind of, coast towards the end of this episode, Super Adaptoid is still playing the naughty blonde with younger M.O.D.O.K. We also see that younger M.O.D.O.K is accompanied by R.K, who is clearly one of those
X-Men villain, man. I loved it.
like very, very randomish people that just there. And I want to, say one other thing before we talk about Arcade is that, like, although this is a Marvel property and it is billed, like I said in the first review, it is billed as a Marvel property. I realized that in the Venom trailer that just recently dropped as we're reviewing this, is that, stuff that isn't a Marvel property under Disney is considered in affiliation or association with Marvel. This Hulu's Disney, I know, folks. And this being on here, and you have to put this in the context here. The fact that they're using up and down the board X-Men references, Easter eggs, and properties in this, and it's a Marvel thing, this lets you know how much closer folks were getting to having X-Men in the MCU. Yes, I was at Comic-Con as well, so I know that these things are coming, but I'm saying the light at the tunnel is getting bigger and bigger now. And the fact that this, we're getting X-Men stuff in the MCU right now is a very exciting thing. So like, yeah, Arcade, X-Men villain, as he said, the specialist of death, but essentially just an assassin of some sort, is alongside of younger M.O.D.O.K. So we're going to have to see what they got planned, because as much like last episode, they're still just giving us just a little bit for us to be like, And I have a feeling, because of how this show works, that it's probably not going to be nothing super crazy here, but I'm gonna buy into it until we ultimately see what happened. And then the last thing we seen was that, two fakies finally had to come to terms that the fake life isn't going to work for them, as we see Jodie and M.O.D.O.K
reconcile, or at least
getting ready. Sex. Yeah, makeup sex looks like to be on tap here. So we'll see. Anything else? Any other Easter egg? Anything else we missed for this episode we want to cover before we get to episode 8?
Not really. I believe the only thing was the Wakanda tattoos on Wonder Man. I thought that was a nice little wink. I'm like, he got a tattoo in Wakandan. I thought that was actually kind of funny. The twist that the publicist was the Adaptoid, didn't see that coming. My mouth opened. It was agape. I said, oh no. And then when an Arcade pops out, I scream out Arcade in my apartment right now. So and they left us on another cliffhanger. What's going to happen next time? So now it's starting to whet the appetite a little bit more. It's building up steam until we get to that final episode where who knows what all hell's going to break loose with younger M.O.D.O.K and then, Grumble's, evil villainy. It's all going to come to a head in these last 3 episodes. Yeah. And part of me did feel that Jodie reconciling with him might have been for show. I don't know. I'm going to have to see episode 8 because I still felt her being fake. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was dressed like Carmen Sandiego. Maybe that was it. When they were trying to get her to be super Latina. But I can't wait to see what's happening in these next few episodes. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
That's it. All right, folks. So jump in the comments. Let us know what you thought about this episode 7. And then when you're done, step over and check out our review for episode 8. So we'll see you over there. Thank you for watching, folks. And until then.